Bow with me, please. Our most gracious and loving Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this opportunity to gather together in freedom without fear of oppression, and we pray that you will always grant that freedom, never let anyone take it from us. Father, as we gather together here to think about things that happen to us politically, let us think with clear minds and open hearts, and let us, those of us that have an opportunity to make decisions, do so in a manner that will be in the best interest of the United States and this wonderful state of Alabama that we live in. Father, we're so thankful for everything you've given us. We know you're the giver of all good gifts, and we pray that when we walk through this life, we do so in a manner that you will look at us and say, I want you to be in heaven with me, and at the end of time. Thank you so much, Father, for every blessing. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Nick Weldon, good to see everybody. Matt Sharp is a member of our County Board of Education and also our Mayor of Valley Head, Lamar Bray. Good evening. Okay, now we've got a couple of other elected officials that I kind of expect them to be here most of the year, but this time of year, when the legislature's in session, I know it takes a little more effort there for them to be here, but we really appreciate it now. At this time, Senator Livingston, Okay, I guess that gets us around. you know, Commissioner McMillan is native of Baldwin County. He, my goodness, he has served as county commissioner in Baldwin County. He served in the state legislature, House of Representatives, where he has a twin brother serving at this time. He also, you've been chairman of the, whatever the title is, State Conservation Department. Worked for the Alabama Forest Commission for many years as executive director. And I could probably go on and on for a while, but, you know, it occurs to me whenever I look at all those things that somebody with all that experience, qualifications, and achievements will probably make a good governor if they decide to be. At this time, I'd like to welcome Commissioner McMillan.
Thanks a lot, Jack. It's good to be back up here with you all. Appreciate such a good turnout. And let me tell you, thanks to all the local elected officials that are here. I don't know all of you all personally, but I know the registrars and the legislators, and y'all got some good folks working with you. And the registrars have a really challenging job all around the state and do a really good job. So, Don has provided great leadership for a while for them now. So, thanks to all of you all. And I would have said this whether they were here or not, I promise you. You couldn't have two fine legislators than you got with Steve and Nathaniel. They do an outstanding job. We were just visiting, and the House had a pretty tough week. Every week's a tough week in Montgomery, but they had an unusually tough week this week dealing with redistricting. And Nathaniel was just telling me it was about 3:30 before we got home yesterday morning. Lose track of days when you're running around the state all the time. But it is good to be here and see some good friends, longtime friends. Catherine and my wife Catherine and William wanted to maybe tell you all how much they missed the opportunity to come up this time. They love to travel with me when they can, especially on weekends, and they like overnight trips. They don't get to go as many places overnight as I do, so they enjoy that, especially if there's a swimming pool for William in the motel. But they didn't this time. Jess Skaggs is with me over here, and we stopped in Birmingham on the way up last night to the event recognizing Senator Shelby's 30 years of service in the U.S. Senate. And I want to tell you, he hadn't just served 30 years in the U.S. Senate. He served 8 years as a congressman before that, and 8 years as a state senator before that. So he's had quite a career of service, and I think they misstated it when they were talking about him being 81. He was 83 this past week, and he's still remarkably healthy and doing really well. So that was a really nice event, and had a great crowd there, and raised a good bit of money for the Jefferson County Republican Party at the same time. Most of the time as I travel around the state now, and it's sort of tailing off some, and that's probably a good thing, but people want to know about the governor and what's been going on in Montgomery. And I think John Wayne had a quote that sums it up pretty well. He said, "Life is really tough, and it's a lot tougher if you're stupid." So that kind of sums up where we are. So having said that, we'll move on to some other things. I can't come here without talking a little bit about agriculture and industries. This information, and it's dated now, it's 210 information that was really put together and released in 2013. But I think you all know now, and since this was put together, DeKalb is the #1 agribusiness county in the state. You all have it's of course primarily attributable to the growth of the poultry industry, which is still growing. And so I couldn't come up here without, I want to mention these numbers, and as as I said, they're higher, and they're being updated right now. I'm anxious to get them done. The extension system is kind of pulling all that together. But in DeKalb County, the total economic impact of agriculture and forestry and related agribusinesses is $1.3 billion and approaching 11,000 jobs. So it's significant to this part of the state and to this county for sure. We hear all the talk, and it's a wonderful thing about aerospace and ships and automobiles and everything else, but still by a long shot, the backbone of Alabama's economy is agriculture and forestry, to the tune of like $70+ billion a year and 285,000 plus jobs. So we are still important in, you might say, rural Alabama. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that. That's one reason we're working on getting these numbers pulled together. I was going to talk a little bit today about the governor's race and what the next governor and the next legislature are going to have to deal with, and kind of set the stage of, you might say, how we got where we are right now, and talk a little bit about some of the specific issues that we're going to have to deal with. First of all, it looks like we're going to have a good wide choice of candidates for governor. We've got some Democrats running as Republicans already. We've got Democrats running as Democrats already. And we got some Republicans that plan to run. And I'm one of the Republicans that plans to run. And Jess Skaggs over here that's with you today is going to be our day-to-day campaign manager as we move into that portion. Now, if you want to, and we were just talking, really kind of laughing about it over here with the legislators, with Governor Ivey, and listen, we all need to support Governor Ivey right now. I think she needs all the support she can get from everybody involved to try to stabilize things and get things turned around in Montgomery. But when she changed the date of the U.S. Senate race, that has just turned everything upside down in statewide politics in Alabama. You all know that and see it, but the U.S. Senate race, of course, now is just taking the forefront of everything. And I mention that because we've been talking to a number of these political consultants about possibly working with us. And when you start talking to them about timings of things, they just throw their hands up because they've never seen or dealt with a situation like this, where we in again, out again in the U.S. Senate special election and all the other statewide races, governor and every other constitutional office, all the legislature, and they're trying to get redistricting taken care of so that their races will be on sound legal footing. So we're in a challenging time for our state, which for some reason is not unusual for our state. But if I'm talking about, along about this time, when I'm talking about agriculture specifically, and things like what we're seeing now, the tractors that they're doing research with do not even have a place for anybody to sit on. Not only do they not have a cab for an operator, but there's no place for anybody to sit, no cab, no nothing. So that's how fast science and technology are changing agriculture. And that saying, now usually when I make my notes, I say S&T. Well, that applies right now to our state government. We need stability and trust in our leadership in Montgomery, and that's one thing that we don't have to rehash again. But I want to, as I said, I want to kind of recap where we are and what I see coming down the road. And it's pretty impressive when you look at just since 2003, when the Governor Riley's big tax package was defeated in the referendum. This is what we've had to deal with and have dealt with to keep specifically the general fund under some type of funding. First we had, not long after that, Hurricane Katrina, and we had a big influx of federal dollars from that. And then we had, in 2008, the stimulus package, and then we had the tobacco settlement, and then we had a $437,000 loan from the Oil and Gas Trust Fund. And then we had the DP money, which we're still operating on today. I'm not going to get into all of that. But the internet sales tax has been somewhat of an asset. We've got Medicaid and corrections going. You may not be aware because we don't hear that much about it, but our mental health system is really a wreck. That may be the worst problem we got right now in this old state, but it's just kind of under the radar, but you're gonna hear more about it. And then the other thing, and the judge back there can tell you what's happening locally, but let me tell you, just to give you an example of where we are with our court system, and lots of people that are not lawyers, that don't deal with it on a day-to-day basis, don't realize what's happening with our court system. But the DA's offices in '08 got $38.2 million appropriation from the general fund. In '18, and I think these numbers still hold, $26 million. That's for the next budget year. And then, I got these numbers from the proposed budget. And then in '08, for the trial courts, they were appropriating $151.2 million. And in '18, the appropriation will be $97.2. Judges, I travel around the state, most of the county court systems, talking to clerks and others, are about half staffed. We got, and I don't know what you all are doing, we got many counties in the state where the circuit clerks themselves are staying there. They can't keep everybody working all day, so they're staying half a day or most of the afternoon by themselves just to take files. So we got some problems we've got to address. We've also got the problems I mentioned, trust, and we basically have had a leadership crisis. And a lot of this is attributable to things that just should not exist. I feel very strongly about elected officials that violate the public trust. I had a really good friend, and when he had acquaintances or people he knew that he had little respect for, and less of some other things for, he said that he held them in minimum high regard. And that's the way I would describe what we've seen with our former speaker and some of the other things that we've seen happen in the state that are just not healthy for public policy or the governance of the state. Now, I think, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit because I'm going to be talking about it a whole lot later. I think that we've got to do something about the leadership in the state. We certainly have got to do something different from the way we've been operating. And I think what we've got to do, and I wish I had time to go into the whole litany of things that we've done in agriculture and industries to really change a disaster of a management operation into, and let me say, Governor Bentley and the legislature have done everything we've asked them to do. 5 or 6 major pieces of reform legislation that we've been able to pass with their support and really make a difference. Some of this stuff is not rocket science. And I'll give you an example. Some of the main pieces of legislation that our agency and other agencies have presented to the legislature can take 2 or 3 years to get through the legislature with a 90-something to 3 vote or something. No controversy, not even hardly any questions because they can see on the face of it that it's necessary. But it's just the way the system works and the process. And I understand that. I was twice elected to the House, and I'm not criticizing them. It's just they're almost victims of the way the system operates. But why not get with the leadership of the legislature and say, all right, along about the middle of the session, we're going to set aside a week or 2 weeks or however many legislative days you can agree on just to pass agency legislation, things that need to be done for the general operating good of the state. So those are the kind of things that I think the experience of having been there and worked with it for a period of time where we can make a difference. Another thing, I talked to one of the other candidates for governor not long ago, and he was telling me how we were going to have to elect a lieutenant governor that would get in there and straighten out that Senate. Well, the lieutenant governor has about as much influence in the Alabama Senate today as that salt and pepper shaker over there. Lieutenant governor doesn't do anything, and I emphasize it, except preside over the Senate. All the appointments, if you remember the Steve Wyndham days when we had a total Democrat majority, the power, much of the power of the governor and all of the power of the lieutenant governor, except a few appointments, was stripped away. And that'll never come back, so it's how do we work within that system. what I would do if I had the opportunity to serve is make the lieutenant governor an integral part of the executive branch if the lieutenant governor is willing to do that. Give, not legislatively necessarily, but give the lieutenant governor in an agreed upon fashion some specific responsibilities, agencies to be responsible for. One of my good friends in Louisiana, a former governor, was also a former lieutenant governor, and the lieutenant governor in Alabama by law is like head of the tourism agency for the state. So other states do things differently, and I think that type approach can be productive for Alabama. There's no reason to have an elected official with staff and everything that they've got in the lieutenant governor's office that we're not getting more production out of. And I've talked to some of the folks that have already indicated they're going to run for lieutenant governor, telling them if I have the opportunity to be governor, they're going to have to go to work. And they all agree that they think that's something they would like to be a part of. Now I want to talk about, and I'm not trying to be negative here at all. I'm trying to make you all aware of what folks like me and these guys are looking at as we move. I think it's safe to say we're not going to see very much happen next year. The fourth year of the quadrennium elections is just not the atmosphere where we're going to have any significant reforms. So we're going to be going in January of 19 with new governor, new legislation, new statewide elected officials, and we got to set about doing business. Now, my approach, and this is the last thing we're going to talk about here, I'm going to talk about some things I hope that are a little more positive to remind you of, but I believe we're in a situation now in Alabama with the failed leadership that we've seen in the past and the issues that we're dealing with, and I mentioned just a very few of them. We haven't even talked about infrastructure and a lot of other things, but the point I wanted to make is I think we're in a situation where really our elected officials cannot adequately address what needs to be done in this state alone as elected officials. I don't care whether it's the governor or whoever it is. So my proposal would be to get citizens around the state that are extremely capable in different areas, whether it's Medicaid or whatever, to come in and work with members of the legislature that are interested in participating, a cross-section of local officials, law enforcement, all a diverse group of Alabamians in small, and I don't like the word task forces, but that's really what we're talking about. A small group of people that are very capable to come in and evaluate the state agencies and identify on a priority basis things that we need to do. Now, right now, if we were talking about doing that, we'd be taking a hard look at Medicaid and corrections. 2 years from now, it might be something else that is at a higher priority. But I think we've got to do that. And my theory is that there are plenty of people in the state that, for whatever reason, would never run for public office, but have tremendous management skills and knowledge of state government and local government that can be an asset to us if we take this type of approach, and they would be willing to serve for 3 to 6 months or whatever in some fashion. And of course, businessmen, successful businessmen would be high on that list of folks that we want to get involved. So that's one of the things that would be my approach. Now, I know that a lot of us are really frustrated. I know a lot of you all are frustrated and disappointed. A lot of folks, and you all here, are the backbone of the Republican Party in this state because you're the ones that do the hardest work when we get around to election time and trying to help candidates get elected. But we've got to do something about changing this, and we've got to make it more positive for our party and beyond. And what I want to emphasize in closing my remarks is look at the positives we've got now. We were successful with a presidential candidate. Who would have dreamed even a year or so ago or less that our own Senator Jeff Sessions would be U.S. Attorney General? I mean, what does that mean to the state of Alabama? And in addition to that, our congressional delegation, our legislature is predominantly majority Republican, every constitutional elected official. So we've got a lot of things to be proud of, and not the least of which we've got a lady like Terry Latham that's party chairman and doing a great job of leading our party at that level. Now, That's good, but let me just remind you what the other side has to brag about. How would you like for Chuck Schumer to be our majority leader in the U.S. Senate? How would you like for Nancy Pelosi to be the minority leader, or majority leader, I should say, in the House? How would you like for Nancy Worley and Joe Reed to be leading our party at the state level? So we do have a lot to be thankful for and a lot to congratulate ourselves on for the work, a lot of good work that a lot of people have done, particularly folks like you all, to get us where we are today. So let's continue to keep the faith and continue to stay involved and see if we can't begin to turn this state around and get us. We've got so many huge advantages. I mentioned the aerospace industry and the other industries that we've got. We've got tremendous opportunities in agriculture. Of course, I'm more familiar with agriculture and forestry specifically than I am a lot of the rest of it. But our workforce development program that these guys have set up is unmatched. I think we already are getting recognition around the country. And this guy they brought in from Louisiana to head that up, he's just done an unbelievable job over there. Thank goodness he was raised in all the Opelika area. That's where his mother is, so we were able to attract him back to Alabama. So there are a lot of really good positive things going on. If you ever have an opportunity to see what's happening down at Austin, the ship building company in Mobile, and the training system that AIDT, has got going down there, it's unbelievable. The Airbus thing, we're fixing to see some big announcements, and we already got the automotive thing is just amazing. We're in the top 5 in automobile production anywhere now. Automobiles are leading our export in the state. The port's doing well. Getting back to poultry, we export 7,000 tons of primarily frozen leg quarters to Cuba through the Port of Mobile on a monthly basis. So there are a lot of good things going on. Our poultry industry is expanding in the state and has got a lot more expansion. We had the recent, and I should have talked a little bit more about the drought situation you all had up here that had such an impact on agriculture. And the same avian influenza, we were very fortunate in this state that even though we had to deal with it, and we've been working on being prepared for this for 2 years in all kinds of ways, including back in 14 and 15, sending our veterinarians to other states to see what they were doing up there and how they were dealing with depopulation and working with USDA and all of those things. And you don't hear a lot about all that stuff, but we had Governor Bentley did appoint a working group of state agencies to work with us, and I'll just give you one example. The National Guard was heavily involved in we did tabletop planning exercises at our office. National Guard was heavily involved. You say, well, why in the world would we need a National Guard? Well, today, and it's kind of moving a little bit, the number one way of depopulating the poultry houses that are infected is with fodder foam. That takes thousands of gallons to create that foam, and what it does is smother the flock of chickens. And so we had the National Guard and their tanker trucks ready to participate in that part of the process. How many of you all are directly involved with poultry? Any growers here or anything? Well, I want nobody to dispute what I say then, Captain. But one of the really big things in dealing with the poultry, and what scared us initially was that we had these low-pass spots in 5 different counties across the top of the state and all the way down to Pickens and Coleman. So that scared us because, and I wish I'd brought it with me, I got them to make me a map in our emergency operations center in our office where our people stayed for a month. The state veterinarian and a couple of his staff folks just answering questions and participating on conference calls, and the USDA folks. And Congressman Al Holt was just amazing. He even sent his chief of staff to spend the day down there and keep up with exactly what was going on. He estimates that 38% plus of Alabama's poultry industry is in his district. And that's the point I wanted to make. If you go to the very extreme part of Jefferson County and draw an east-west line all the way across the state, you cannot put your finger on the map hardly at all without being on top of some sort of poultry facility. And we see a little bit in southeast Alabama, a little bit scattered all around in Baldwin County, Miami County, very little poultry industry, but we do have a cow laying laying facility there that has 750,000 laying hens operating there at all times. So it is statewide, it's important. I'm going to stop there now. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I mentioned? Yes, sir.
Commissioner McMillan, I want to thank you for coming to us, and I'm glad to see you in DeKalb County again. I'm Royce Slater, and I'd like to invite you back in September to our county fair. However, last year the VFW saw fit to uninvite us to have a booth there after many years. And so, Steve and David, sorry, I won't be able to come visit us at a booth this year. So,
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I was here the first or second year after I took office. I came to the ribbon cutting for the opening of the fair, so we'll try to get back.
They have a multi-million-dollar complex there that they pay no tax on. Don't account to anybody for all the money they raise. Now, nothing against the veterans, but our local VFW seems to go off on a tangent, so maybe you can talk to the state.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and maybe we can figure out a way to address that issue. Yes, sir.
Commissioner, this week I had the most fun I've ever had at work, and it was prosecuting a cattle rustler. And we worked with an investigator who was from Leah, from the SBI, and a few years ago, that would have been an investigator from your department. And I wonder if you comment on what you see as the effects coming from those investigative functions being moved from your department over to Leah.
Well, and let me just set the background for you a little bit. The first year we were in office, the proration and budgeting, we lost 45% of our general fund appropriation. That led to loss of 25% of our employees, and we laid up. When I got there, we had 12 rural investigators scattered around the state. By the time we got through with retirements and cutbacks, a lot of them were long-time employees. We were down to 4. And then when the Leah merger came along, I think by the time we actually merged, we really, Clinton's the only one, was it more than one?
We had 2 and then 1.
We had 2, and then one of them retired pretty shortly after that. So we had lost a lot of expertise. And the last one that came directly from us over to Leah just retired a few weeks ago. What we did in the interim, for our part, was to get out, and we never did go into a county without the sheriff's knowledge and invitation, if you want to call it that. And so we got Clint and anyway, there were 2 of them that were experts. Clint was fantastic. We got them to go around and meet with sheriffs and work with sheriffs on training deputies and that sort of thing. But you would not believe, because remember at that time cattle prices were just through the roof, and you would not believe how quick folks can come in and steal a trailer load of cows just in almost a few minutes. They'll do things like feed them every night and get them where they're coming up close to the fence.
That's exactly what he
And
did.
then cut the fence and just want to quick corral around and load them on the truck and they're gone. But if sheriff's deputies don't know that folks don't normally haul cows around at 3 o'clock in the morning, they just little things like that, they don't have the awareness to keep up with that. My sheriff down in Baldwin County is named Hoss Mack. And I asked, when we were trying to figure out how we could at least be helpful with limited staff, I asked Sheriff Mack what he thought about this thing of sending our guys around and having trained deputies. I said, would that be helpful to you? He said, absolutely. He said, the last deputy that I hired came here from New Jersey, and he doesn't even know which end of the cow the food goes in. So, just little things like that can be helpful. But I hope that the guy that, and I will say, again, Governor Bentley and Spencer Collier, immediately, when the legislation passed, they immediately moved our people over there and set up an individual rural investigative unit that to the time, I just don't have much contact since all the guys retired. But up until then, they were doing a good job, and the guy that headed it, I won't even get into that, but he's a super guy originally from Clark County, and that's who I talked to when we had the issue. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Mr. Black, I got a question about, of course, I keep hearing that the prison system is potentially looking at hundreds of millions of dollars. And I just wonder, these people in prison that are nonviolent, why we can't put them in you look around the state and you see all these buildings, large manufacturing places, grass growing in the parking lots. Why we can't put the nonviolent people in the local area and put them doing some jobs, manufacturing, like where you see made in China, where it actually wouldn't be a cost to the people, but, you know.
I want to sign you up for my prison task. I'm not trying to be funny. That's the kind of thing we've got to do, is more thinking outside the box. And I don't know, y'all think you're going to be able to deal with, I'm hearing maybe a special session on corrections. Y'all, you think you're going to be able to deal with it? They're running out of time. But yeah, I mean, there's people that know how to operate prison systems, in my opinion, better than we are doing in Alabama. And that's the kind of expertise that I would come, that I would bring in and get some common sense thinking. One of the things that really discourages me, I don't know whether any of y'all watch this investigative discovery or whatever it is, that ID television. I've gotten the way I like that when I have a chance to watch. I either watch the Outdoor Channel or that. And what amazes me most about it, I'm probably a latent detective of some kind, because I always enjoyed law enforcement. But what amazes me about that is the crimes I see committed. I mean, murderers and heinous crimes, and they sent them off for 12 years or 14 years or something. The death penalty would be a big help to some of our correction problems if there was some way to really deal with that. And I know that gets us into the federal courts and everything else, but people that go out and just murder and torture 2 or 3 people, and they get sent up for 14 years or something. Anything else? I probably need to stop, man. I'll be around here. If anybody wants to visit with us afterwards, I appreciate the opportunity. Yes, sir.
Is there a chance the state government is going to allow this Ron Sparks to be laid off?
Well, I'm sorry.
Is there a chance that the state government's going to collapse since Ron Sparks has been laid off? That's not a fact.
Wherever he came from, I hope he left it in better shape than he left agriculture. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned mental health just a second ago, and I've got a couple of comments and questions. That's the field that I work in. I'm not actually a group home provider for intellectually challenged individuals, but pretty high up in that. And I've worked for several different group homes, and I have seen a lot of waste in that field. And a couple of them in particular is the state of Alabama rolled out a couple of programs, computer programs that we're having to start using, but in pieces. And one of them, the state of Alabama's paid millions of dollars for, but they're not using those programs. They've just got them kind of sitting on the back burner, but you all are still paying for that, and we are as taxpayers. And then we had a new program rolled out, which is called Vera, and it's the same program. We're kind of an oversight on that as far as helping. As a taxpayer, it infuriates me to see that money wasted when you've got a 56-year-old woman who quite honestly has the mentality of a 7 or 8-year-old. I have a cousin who is mentally retarded, to use a politically incorrect word so we all know what we're talking about. But she's 7, she's my mother's first cousin with the mentality of a 7 or 8-year-old. And we love Annie. But it's wrong to treat her as a 70-year-old woman and expect her to know what choices to make and give her those choices instead of letting her set in color if she wants to. These folks are sometimes being forced to do things or trying to be trained in the things that, guys, they're never going to learn how to do. And I hate to see her continually try, they try to train her. We try to train her to do something she's not capable of ever doing. And that's just the way God made these folks. is there not some way that we can get in there, or somebody can, and kind of get this program for mental, you know, the mental illness part of it as well? It's just, to me, it's so sad. And that's just the question I have with overlapping programs that are put in place, that we're paying for, that we never use, and things like that. It's just, to me, it's terrible.
Thank you for your comment. I really can't correctly answer your question, but the two of you have confirmed, in my opinion, exactly what my approach would be to get our arms around some of these issues. And that's the first thing we got to do. People in Alabama not want to accept any tax increases, in my opinion, until they are educated and have the confidence that our leadership is doing everything that can be done at the Montgomery level. So thank you to both of you particularly. I'm going to quit now. We'll be around if anybody wants to talk about anything else. Thank you.
A couple of things I really intended to do earlier. Cole Wagner is here. He is the newly elected president of the Northeast Alabama Younger Club. They have an event coming up in a couple of weeks that I'd like to get him to tell you about briefly.
I guess I'll get up here, everybody can see me. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background on where the club's at and why we're doing this fundraiser. There's really three things that we want to focus on this year and moving into 2018. And those three things are social media messaging, data collection, and volunteer organization. So getting people gathered up and getting a group of people ready for when 2018 election cycle rolls around. We've got people that are ready to go knock on doors for Republicans. And then we also want to have data available so that those candidates can choose where they can be most effective in spending their money. And then obviously social media messaging is something that young Republicans kind of have a leg up on. So that's the three things that we hope to help candidates and the Republican Party of our area with. And our kickoff fundraiser, like you said, is going to be May 27th. It's crawfish boil over at the Fort Payne City Park. It's going to be from 3 to 6 o'clock. It's going to be featuring John Merrill and these two gentlemen, Mr. Livingston and Ledbetter, as our speakers. We just want to invite all you guys out to it. Kids, veterans will be free. We're going to have a bounce house for the kids and all the crawfish you can handle. So we hope to see you guys out for that. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
You're welcome. Code, do you have tickets available?
It'll be at the door when you get there. Yes, sir.
All right. Our county Republican chairman, Scotty Vaughn, couldn't be here today, but our vice chairman, D.L. Steeple, is. I think he had some announcements.
Yeah, Scotty asked me if I would to offer his apologies for not being here this morning. He had a work situation came up. So a couple of things that I wanted to mention that you most of you may not be aware of. We do have a headquarters located. We're in the process of negotiating contract. None of that is within budget, by the way, and probably under budget for the party. We anticipate that will be open in June. It's downtown on DeKalb Avenue. We'll be there for all the activities that go on in the city during summertime, and so we'll be front and center on that. We have a kickoff rally 17th of June, which we expect to have a lot of candidates by that time, both locally and statewide, will be able to come in and meet with you face to face. And so that's going to be at the headquarters building. It's downtown on DeKalb Avenue, District Cripple Village up in Rogers, pawn shops. I'm not sure where that's at. So we invite you for that. The other thing, a couple of things I wanted to mention was that we will be upgrading the website. We've been working on that. It's a little dated now, so that's going to be finished hopefully in the next few weeks. So again, just wanted to give you some updates on that. Thanks for being here today.
DL, what time does the kickoff?
I don't know that the time has been set. It's kind of an in and out activity during the daytime, so I'm not sure of that.
Thank you. I know that there are some people here who are either candidates or planning to be candidates. If any of you would like to announce this morning or say anything, now's the time. Okay.
I also,
Lester Black.
I just want to announce I'm going to be a candidate for District 4 Commissioner.
I have not completely finalized my decision yet, but it is highly likely I will be running for Judge Cole's seat as circuit court judge. That's about it.
Anybody else?
Well, it's not time to qualify yet, it's next month, but I plan on running for re-election. Feel like an old-fashioned church meeting, just lay it out.
Anybody else have anything?
I'll say something real quick. I think it's important to the party. Speaking of early on, it passed the closed primary runoff in the Senate. And we've been working with the committee to try to get it out of the House. We kind of had some issues in there getting it out. And I'm going to brag on our state party chairman. When I become majority leader, I put a liaison between us and the state party because we really lost touch with it. We tried to bring it back together. And Terry, I told him he needs to talk to Terry. I called him and told him we need to get that on the ballot, or on the calendar. And she actually came to Montgomery. And she didn't just call, she sat down and visited with them in her office. And Tuesday, we will have a closed Republican primary on the calendar to be voted out of the House. We get out of the House and go to the governor. So we may for the first time see that happen. And thanks to everybody working together, I think it's what's made it happen. So I just want to let y'all know that.
Well, I appreciate that. This is something that, because you both know that I've prodded and suggested for a long time. I'm glad to see it happen. Anybody else? Okay, if not, as it stands right now, our speaker for June will be Senator Dale Marsh. Of course, if he's started running for the Senate by then, I don't know whether he will still be able to make this or not, but I sure hope he does. If not, we'll find somebody else. Donnie.
Well, I mentioned that in Marshall County, I have, we always meet the first Tuesday, I'm sorry, can you hear me? First Tuesday night in every month, we meet at Winchell's in Marshall County. And my speaker this coming month is Terry Latham, our GOP party. Inviting you to come join us, 6:30 in Winchell. I'd like to have y'all come over.
Thank you. I intended to mention that myself. Joe and I have been fortunate enough to attend a few of their meetings from time to time. I think anytime you can get over there on the first Tuesday night at Winchell's, you'll enjoy it. Anything else? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.